Welcome to Sex, Psychics, and Psychedelics. I'm your guide, Banana Jane Garnett. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and an explorer of the human experience. In this podcast, I'm here to map out the frontiers of healing, invite in new perspectives, ignite authenticity, and to celebrate inner liberation. These conversations are designed for you, designed to help you find your path. You consider new things, you follow your bliss, and you cultivate a life of greater connection. Remember, it is together we find the true medicine. Please be in touch with any suggestions or thoughts. You can find me at the Banana Jane on Instagram. Now let's dive in. Pamela, welcome to Sex, Psychics, and Psychedelics. I'm so happy to have you here today. I want to hear about being a vagipreneur, and I want to hear about your retreats, and I want to talk about sexuality and aging. So we've got a lot to cover. Let's dive in.
All right. Well, you want to hear about a lot.
Yes.
So I've been doing this work in the sex education realm for about 20 years. I came from the fertility world. And so I joke and I say I'm really smart from the waist down. That's, my area of expertise. And, what's really interesting about working in the women's sexual wellness arena is when my book was published, Shameless, How I Ditched the Diet, Got Naked, Found True Pleasure, and Somehow Got Home in Time to Cook Dinner in 2011, published by Rodale, we couldn't get media. Like, people didn't want to hear about women and sexual wellness and women actually paying. Because everyone knows everyone knows that men pay for touch, but the idea of women doing that seemed somehow scandalous. And in fact, CNN had done a huge filming of us for a CNN Presents. And Elizabeth Cohen, the medical director of CNN, was the one in charge, and we filmed everything. It never saw light because someone at CNN in 2011 said, well, she can do that, then my wife can do that, and I'm not airing this. So they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars filming this, flying people in, and it never left the can. So here we are. It's 2025. And women's reproductive rights and sexuality is being suppressed. And in that arena of immense suppression, in the last 2 weeks, I've been in the New York Times, I've been in Vogue USA, I've been in People magazine, Condé Nast Traveller, CNN. And it's sort of ironic to me that now when there is this suppression of even tampons on Meta, that we're now having our big breakthrough moment with the media. Oh, and the New York Post, I left that out. So it's just sort of really, really ironic that now we're having the world's eyes on women's sexual wellness in a really big way, and sexual wellness retreats for women is now the leading trend for women's vacations, is they're wanting wellness retreats. And now we're talking about it in the New York Times and People magazine and Vogue, right? I'm in fucking Vogue. And, 2011, I couldn't get hung. And so I love the irony. And perhaps it's sort of like a message from the heavens that we need this now more than ever. And that we need women to be in their sexual sovereignty more than ever. And it's a real moment of reclaiming and reclamation of women's sexual wellness when there's a fight in real time to suppress us. And So that's what's happening. And, we've been doing these programs for 15 years. So we're not new. You know, we're just getting attention now. But we've been sold out 6 months to a year in advance for years. People are saying, well, now you're going to get all these people. And I'm like, well, that's great. But actually, we're limited because you can't do this work with 3,000 women in a room yelling pussy. That's not what this work is. This work is very, very bespoke and boutique. You can't work with women's sexuality in the way that we do, which is with touch and intimacy and connection. And, if I have 8 women, I have 9 staff. I mean, it's better than daycare. And so, it's just sort of like love that the world is learning about this work. And we're plenty busy, thank you very much, because there isn't a lot of places to go that offer this. And we actually have a study that was done by Widener University, because we're very reputable. And we have data. And so it's just interesting, the climate in which Back to the Body and Pamela Madsen is having their great big moment during a time of extreme suppression of women's sexual authority.
I mean, I feel like we're in a time of great kind of quantum contradictions accelerating. So it isn't just women's sexuality, it's everything, in my opinion. But yes, it's the pattern is getting kind of more and more vivid in front of our eyes. And congratulations on your part of bringing the pattern to the fore. And empowering women, it seems, long story short. I want to hear more about the touch work. And is this helping women have orgasms, or is it broader than that?
Oh, it's so much bigger than the orgasm.
Mm,
And it's interesting. The clickbait that they've all used is, would you pay this amount of money for an orgasm? And
yeah.
it's like, all right, I won't stick my fingers down my throat. If it's going to get people to click and then actually read a very good article, because they've all been excellent reporting. Okay, fine. But that's not what my work is about.
Mm,
Women come to these kinds of programs for lots of reasons. My focus is exposing women to their natural erotic arc and putting a focus on arousal. And I think our language is wrong. I think when we're talking about orgasm, we're really talking about climax. And
tell me more.
well, orgasmic energy is arousal energy.
Mm,
Like you can watch me in a live demo and you will see me peaking and peaking and peaking and peaking and moving my body and breathing and getting up on my knees and dancing while I'm being touched erotically. And they're following me. So this is female led, where the practitioners work with the woman where they are. They're not bringing their desire to the table. They are following the woman. So
mm,
it's female led. It's not male imposed.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that's very, very important.
Are all the practitioners women?
No,
Oh,
most
okay.
of the practitioners are men.
Okay.
We have, like, I'm a sexological body worker. And I have female sexologists and sexological body workers and therapists on staff. We work in a triadic model. So when women have sessions, they have what we call a safe port, and that is a woman who
Mm,
takes them to session and then picks them up after, and then takes them to what we call the nest, where there are other women who
mm,
had just come out of session, and they get to hold each other and talk and share and laugh and cry and cuddle.
mm,
And it's what keeps this work safe for women, that
mm.
there are no secrets, and they are told right off the bat that if ever a practitioner in their life tells them to hold a secret, run. So we are very clear. We hold confidentiality within our group of teachers. but we do not, we don't keep secrets from each other, and the women don't keep secrets from us. And
It,
that's an agreement that we
yeah,
make
I mean,
to
that
be
seems,
transparent
yeah, seems
and
very,
safe.
very appropriate. Yeah, obviously safety is so important. It seems a bit like sexual surrogacy, but
No,
no,
but
no,
no. So
no.
here's the difference. So sexual surrogates, and some of my men and one of my women are actually
Mhm.
certified sexual surrogates. This is not that. Sexual surrogacy is for people who want to experience a lover and don't have experience with intimate relationship,
Mhm.
and maybe looking to explore oral sex, maybe looking to explore intercourse. Those things are off the table at my retreats. We do not form lovership relationships with our clients.
Mm.
We do not form those relationships, and we don't. Um, the practitioners have signed very, very deep contracts with me. They don't. They do not work with people outside of the container. They don't text with clients outside the container or have private phone calls unless there is a reason, and we are a part of that.
Mhm.
Um, the practitioners use one-way touch. So surrogacy is two-way.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
We use one-way touch.
So wait, so let's just be clear about this as I'm getting this education. The one-way touch is from practitioner to client.
Correct.
Okay. So the practitioners will touch the client and it can be genital touch. It is
Yes, it's full.
genital,
It's full body
full
touch.
body touch. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Right, but it's very boundaried in terms of I mean, surrogacy, good surrogacy is also boundaried, but I guess they're different kinds of boundaries, right? But it's boundaried in terms of
Or container.
yeah, the container and the
Yeah,
relationship. Okay, got it.
exactly. So
Yeah.
our roots are in,
Mm.
um, our roots are in sexological bodywork. So the rules of that is the hands are gloved,
Mm-hmm.
toys are covered and cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, practitioners keep their clothes on. Like years ago when I was just an explorer, like everybody else, I would go to tantra retreats, and somewhere in the middle of experiencing whatever I was experiencing, the practitioner would say, and this is the time when women usually like to touch my magic lingam. Would you like that? Would you like to touch my magic sword?
Very
So
creepy.
this is not happening
Yeah.
at Back to the Body retreats. Um, the men are not pushing their desire
Yeah.
into women's bodies.
Yeah.
Um, we hug women.
Mm-hmm.
Women can be cradled and held. It can be very intimate.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, some women need to practice intimacy and making eye contact and learn how to communicate. Most of the women in the beginning, will say, well, what do you desire? And sometimes the response is, no one's ever asked me before. No one's asked me. How do I know? And so for many women in the beginning, it's a laboratory of like, well, what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
What does feel good? They get to see live demonstrations so that they know what this can look like.
So different options. So let's say I was a woman, I came and I didn't know what I wanted. I just wanted to have some new sexual experience. How would you guide me?
Well, again, the first thing that they would get to, there's a process. So they get a private one-on-one interview with their practitioner before they even arrive.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they fill out a big form, all about their thoughts, their desires, their medical history, their consent forms, all of that. And then they meet with the practitioner in Zoom, and then they arrive here, and the women are all connected to each other in a group. So they often go out to eat, and they
Mm-hmm.
share, and usually there's multi-generationals.
How many
So
women?
anywhere from 8 to 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't do more than 12, and most of the retreats are 8. So the women are like across. This is my first retreat. This is my 8th retreat.
Mm.
And so there's a sisterhood and
Mm.
there's no competition
Mm.
because there's no mate competition because everyone's going to get where everyone's going to get. And so it creates a different environment in the sisterhood. So how do they learn? They learn by talking to other women. They learn who have been to the programs. They learn by having a pre-talk with their practitioner. Then they arrive and we create a container. And then they get to see a live demo. That's me on the table. And they get to see what's possible. And then they get to have yet again another one-on-one with their practitioner on day one after the demo, where they have another half hour of one-on-one time with their practitioner and then a women's circle. And that they get an idea maybe of what they might like to explore. And then they bring it into the practitioner. And again, they have the safe port and they have me and all the options around their fantasies can be explored. And then taking the emphasis off the climax and moving it towards arousal. And as these women deepen, they start to learn about trance state and how arousal can lead to trance state. And my very advanced women who have been with me for a while, we're teaching them to channel through their arousal. And I know that sounds so woo-woo.
Tell me more about that. Sounds like my cup of tea.
Well, as women deepen into their erotic and they de-armor and they open, what happens is they may start to run Kundalini energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very potent energy. And so we're trained in how to hold that and support women with that. And we are trained, again, it's what is the woman wanting, right? So if you can take a step back, they usually show up in pleasure poverty. They're starving. So they need to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I may see a woman 5 times in a year at a retreat because she's famished. And first she has to get to this place where she's embodied, she's erotically open, she is not in hypervigilance anymore, and she can name her desires. Now, once you have that woman, that embodied, relaxed, open, sovereign woman, what will start to happen is she'll start to run Kundalini energy, which initially can be frightening because it can feel like a very bad headache, and women need to be guided through that experience through moving the energy up for them and teaching them how to breathe through that experience. So that's like another step, right? I mean, it takes a little bit of time to actually get there. And then once they get comfortable with trance and Kundalini, then we're actually able to begin to cultivate them opening all their channels to receiving messages. And whether that is it important if it's like from an angel or it's actually from their deep unconscious that finally gets to speak to them. Do I know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Where the information is coming from, but we can support them in accessing it. And the reason why I went back is there's a different intention. So when women are feasting, when they're in erotic poverty, the men are really bringing their erotic energy with the woman. We call it sometimes taking with purpose, because she wants to feel what it's like to be the juicy bone. And so in that case, the practitioner will bring energy, will bring that kind of energy. Oh, you want to feel what it's like to be pushed up against the wall. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
You want a spanking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to play you want to play in those areas. Great. We've got that. You want suspension, you want rope, we've got hooks everywhere. Anything can happen within our boundaries.
Mm.
once she's filled up in all those ways, and she wants to start really cultivating her trance states, well, then we take out the blindfold. The music changes. The practitioner is not bringing his erotic energy in the same way.
Mm.
He's pulled back. So she can go deeply. It's like, I don't know, people have had an experience taking mushrooms or a psychedelic. It's a similar kind of feeling that can happen with a woman in her arousal and in finding trance state through breath and sound and the blindfold. And then what we may be doing is actually recording for her. So are there words that are coming up? Are there messages? And then it's written down because she may not remember it after the session, like what comes through her. And again, it's a different level of, it's a mastery. That usually happens in masteries, or what we call Uber masteries, or private retreats.
But so you have it structured where you can go to a mastery retreat?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we hold 2 masteries a year and 2 Uber masteries a year. Because what happens is, as women grow erotically, they want more. Like, there's no
Like
end,
women,
right?
yeah.
There's no end.
Yeah.
And what would happen at a mastery retreat doesn't happen at another, maybe perhaps another retreat, right? We have all different flavors.
What's the difference between mastery and Uber mastery?
How much we trust the women and how much the women trust us,
Okay.
and so we can do more with them
Mm.
because we're not worried about them having regret. We're not worried about, like, there's a lot of trust between those practitioners and us. So,
Mm.
like, for example, like a very advanced thing might be what we call 3 blind mice. And so these are women who have really been with me a while and they have real trust relationships with our practitioners. And it's also about the practitioners having trust too, right? Because they need to be safe. And so what I do is I blindfold everybody. And we have 2 tables in mastery. The women get to actually be observed by other women. They get 3-hour private sessions in mastery, as opposed to 90-minute to 2 hours. And they move from practitioner to practitioner. So every day in mastery, instead of staying with one practitioner for the whole week, they are now going to be with a different practitioner every day for 3 hours. Because each practitioner brings a different sauce, right?
Yeah.
They also get what we call group erotic experiences, which means that we have group ritual for them where they can actually be seen by other women. So in their cradles. So we would set up a table, 2 tables, and again, an advanced woman would be taken to the table and have a cradle with 2 practitioners and be observed by everyone for half an hour. Then another woman comes onto the other table and they're together, separate, together.
Side by side.
Yeah, but with space.
So their
Yeah.
voices are joining in some
And their sounds and the
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that original woman leaves the table.
Mm.
And now that woman gets to be solo. So
Mm.
that's something that would happen at a mastery program. And
Mm.
then Uber mastery, when we take it another level, I'm going to blindfold the practitioners and I'm going to blindfold the women, and they're not going to know who.
Mm.
And so I have the 2 practitioners with blindfolds that I bring to the table, the client to the table. They're being observed by the group. So it's nothing secret. Okay. So nothing nefarious can happen, right? Because it's very, very important in a woman's ability to open and really truly express who she is, not just as an erotic being, but as a woman, as her whole energy. And so what's really cool about 3 Blind Mice is there's a lot of like interweaving of bodies, but the men remain clothed. It's very dreamy and exciting and fun, and bodies dripping on and off and around. We work on a massage table, on and off, and then we have spotters that stand by at the tables to make sure that nobody
Nobody
falls
falls off.
off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like an uber mastery.
Yeah.
So there are different forms. We have Chateau Surrender, which is a BDSM retreat,
Hmm.
and then where women come, like basically enter an erotic novel, where they come as a submissive and they're colored, and it's a whole thing, and it's very, 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 very popular. And
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
have like normal retreats,
Mm.
named Ritual or um, Anatomy of Desire, and they're entry-level retreats. So we have a mixture because after 15 years, we have a lot of women at a lot of different levels, and this I have had some of the most famous sex educators come through my program
Mm-hmm.
because we as sex educators need a place that can hold us.
Yeah.
And so it's not unusual for us to have a well-known face in the sex education world.
Hmm.
And many have been very public about attending. Jaya's like Erotic Blueprints, Jaya has been to my programs. So
Hmm.
why? Because no matter where you are, there's always more.
Hmm.
And we all need a place to continue our practice. So whether whether you don't know what your arousal is or your orgasm is, or you're recovering from trauma or whatever's going on in your world, or you're a very sophisticated, well-known sex educator, you need a space to hold you. And we have women that range in age from their late 20s until their mid 80s. My mom came at
Really?
92. Yeah, I have three very active women right now in their 70s and their mid 80s.
Well, that's wonderful.
They
Yeah, I definitely
do all
want to
the
talk
things.
about. I want to talk about that. What are you noticing through the decades with women's sexuality? And yeah, just tell me more.
Like
I'm very
menopause.
interested from like menopause onwards.
Yeah.
Like
So
I know
menopause
more, you know.
is such a bullshit name because there's no pause.
Do you think that's what it's supposed to mean is stopping?
Yeah, a man named it. It's like we stopped,
Say
like,
pause.
yeah, because we stopped ovulating.
Yeah.
So for like it's over for us. It's actually like menoplayful and
Mm.
menopausable. Like
Menopausal development.
the best sex. Like I started doing these. I was always erotic.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
wondering about like
No,
I imagine you've always been super sexual.
I, I,
Yeah.
I don't have sexual trauma.
Yeah.
I've been masturbating and having climaxes since I'm 5 years old.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but that's not the point, really. What I'm really getting to is that um, you will keep evolving erotically. I have women starting with me in their 70s,
Mm.
starting with me and changing their whole life, starting with me in their late 60s. And like they were like sexless for 30 years. And they're
Is
now,
it arbitrary, this idea that, I mean, I don't think it's totally arbitrary because in myself, I've noticed there's just so many changes I can't really even keep track actually over the decades. So it's hard for me to say, this decade was more sexual or less. It feels like it waxes and it wanes. But my sort of bias, I suppose, is that moving forwards over the next, so I turned 50 this year, and over the next 2 decades, I suppose I'm loosely anticipating that I will stay sexual, but that it'll probably start chilling out. Is that a no? Do I have to come to one of your retreats to get it going? Yes, I can't wait. I
I
want to
don't
go
know.
straight in the like Uber mastery one though.
Yeah,
You got to get me in that one. Yeah.
what I know, I'm 60.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I know
Yes. Yeah.
is that hormones don't hurt.
What do you mean they don't hurt?
Well, adding estrogen and testosterone into your aging body,
Oh, I
um,
see. You mean taking them.
yes,
Yeah.
like can be very helpful.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're having physical changes like the thinning of your vaginal wall, or
Yeah.
oftentimes women get sore um, at the bottom of their introitus, the opening to the vagina.
Yeah.
And so adding a little estrogen can often take that away.
Mm.
Um, in fact, in my upcoming portal event at the end of March, this may not even air by then, but we're having Dr. Maria Uloco come.
Mm.
And she's an extraordinary gynecologist, sexual urologist. And she's going to come and do a workshop on what women should know about vulva health
Mm.
and hormones and what they should expect in a really good sexual wellness exam from a gynecologist was very different. When I went to Maria, um, she gave me an exam that nobody ever gave me before. And like holding up a mirror for me and showing me the changes in my vulva and where it's like really healthy, but where like, oh, look, there's see that little color change there, Pamela. That means that you're just beginning to have a little atrophy happening here. But this is reversible. We're going to just pop you a little estrogen testosterone cream that's going to disappear and your vagina looks great and look at all what's going on in your vulva. So we're
Mm.
going to do a live demo so that women can actually see what they should be getting when they see a doctor and they can actually ask for. Because if
Mm.
they don't know what it should be like and what they need, they're not going to get it. They're going to get the quick in and out. And that's not what we want for women. And so at this portal, Dr. Maria is coming on top of all the other stuff that we normally do at a portal retreat, which is something that costs $450. You know, it's when they put that $18,000 price tag on, like there's lots of
Wait,
space.
it's $450 for the retreat.
No, for the portal.
I was going to say, so wait, oh, the portal is so the online section.
No, a
No.
portal is a non-residential,
Uh-huh.
or they can pay more and stay here.
Ah.
3-day program
Uh-huh.
where they learn about the work,
Hmm.
where they attend workshops, where they do have some somatic experiences, but they don't get on the table.
I see.
We're not doing sessions for them, but they do get somatic experiences. They do get the Lotus Lift meditation that has been featured by Oprah multiple times. They do get a lot of tools and they get to like put their little pinky in to see what this is all about for not a big price tag.
Mm-hmm.
And we run those twice a year for women, and they are in person. People learn differently, and it's very different for women to actually come and see things in person, actually see a live demo of what they could possibly have, you know? And so, you know, we range from a 3-day non-residential or VIP experience where they can stay here, residential experience for 3 days, to full retreats. And they range very differently in price. They range from, I don't know, nine or $10,000 up to 18,000, and that really depends on, are they getting 3-hour sessions? Where are we in the world? Is it a mastery? Is
Mm.
it a new mastery? You know, so they range, and we do payment plans for women. You know, what is true is that to provide this kind of quality for women in a safe enough environment, you actually have to pay quality practitioners real money.
Of course, yes, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
you actually
Yeah.
have to pay the mortgage and the chef and all the things. And so, you know, I go to Disneyland for a week, or I can come here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So people
Different
always
kind of
go,
Disneyland. That's right.
yes, I love Disneyland, but what I'm saying is people always go, oh,
Yeah.
so much money.
Mm.
But they'll go to Disneyland and they'll spend more money than they would if they actually did a retreat. So the whole price point thing, I'm like, you know,
Well, and
it
you're bringing
costs
up
money.
something interesting, which is, business, and you're obviously quite the entrepreneur or vagipreneur. And I'm curious how sexual empowerment and business have woven together for you.
What I know is that my sexual energy runs the show.
Meaning,
Meaning, if I don't feel arousal in
mm,
my body, so I run arousal all day long. I'm a very well honed, and I've been practicing this a long time.
mm, mm-hmm,
So I need to feel arousal around what I'm doing. I have to be turned on.
Mm,
I am turned on and excited. My retreat sells out because I'm putting a lot of hot energy on that.
mm-hmm.
And, you know, you don't get rich doing this work. You just don't. People are like, well, you must be like rolling in it. And I'm like, oh, well, my company's about 6% profitable right now. It should be at 10%. Um, but I have a beautiful life.
Yeah, yeah.
And I live on this gorgeous property and I do
So you
for
do
work.
well. You may not be in the like, you know, the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, but you
I don't even scratch that.
okay,
And
but you have a good lifestyle. You have
I
a
have
good
a beautiful
yeah,
lifestyle. I
yeah,
mean, I'm living on a gorgeous property. I can
yeah,
eat organic food
yeah.
and I can buy crystals and
What more
whatever.
do you need, darling? You're in
It- it-
California.
exactly. So, when you ask about like money and
Yeah,
how it weaves
yeah.
together, it's about finding something that you would do for play
Mm,
and that super turns you on.
yeah.
And and it has lit up my life. I mean, the fact is that this is the how this property